Vinohradský Pivovar 13 Amber Czech Lager.
And remember, life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Banned Bikes and Booze Reviews. Another one from the Czech Republic and another one from Vinohradský Pivovar. This lot are a micro-brub. Micro-brub? What the fuck is a micro-brub? Micro-pub stroke brewery stroke restaurant. It's that type of setup, which, looking at this, is no mean feat, because if you're a micro pub that brews the stuff on prem and you can get it out to people in the UK, that's some feat. So the thinking behind that, you'd say it must be good beer. Now, I've tried the Pilsner that I did before, and it was just okay. I wouldn't write home about it. I really wouldn't have recommended it that much because of the price. It was over £3. But what it has got in its favour, this is a 500ml can. Do you remember them? 500ml cans? Fucking hard to come by now. Everything's $4.40. This is 500. A little bit refreshment there. But yeah, the price was a little bit, I thought was a little bit over the top for what it was. Now, I know it's a craft brewer. It's a very small operation. They don't get the big breaks with the ingredients in terms of price. But, and I suppose, yeah, you've got the import duty as well. So it's got a lot stacked against it, hence the reason it's more than that. I'd imagine that this, I didn't really look up the price list, but I'd imagine this is a hell of a lot cheaper in the Czech Republic. But they're based in Prague, so it's a tourist area, so maybe not. But we are where we are. Now, there really isn't much information about this brewery at all on their website, so I can't give you any indication as to what they have, how they've worked this out, how they've come about, etc. And judging by the can, it's, I wouldn't say they're cutting corners, but this is the cheaper method. It's what a lot of craft brewers do. They have, you know, your bog standard silver can. They make a label up and just slap it on the front. I have absolutely no problem with that whatsoever. It really doesn't make a difference to me. I know I'm all for the presentation of a can of lager. To be honest, this is pretty simple. Straight to the point. Tells you what it is, what it does. So, yeah, I'm not going to complain about that. They're relatively new, as I say. They seem to number all their beers, and the different styles are numbered. Now, speaking of the different styles, I just want to highlight this. And I don't know whether to have a rant or not, or to just let it all wash over me and say, well, fuck everything. What a great attitude, eh? I was looking up on the website, and I was looking at the other stuff that they do. Yeah, they do a Czech Pilsner, which I tried. It was okay. I've tasted much better Czech Pilsners, to be honest. This stuff, I'll tell you about in a minute. They do IPAs. They do American Pale Ales. They're a craft brewer. That's what they do. But I looked at one of their beers, and it was called Western Approaches. Now, I know I keep banging on about my obsession with World War II history, but if you know anything about World War II, and if you know anything about the Battle of the Atlantic, the Western Approaches were basically the areas around Ireland, Scotland, and the southernmost parts of Britain. It was basically where the Atlantic convoys would come into the United Kingdom, and it was the most dangerous region for them, because that's where the most U-boat activity would be. It was known as the Western Approaches. It got its name from its region, and that phrase will always be synonymous with the Battle of Atlantic. This lot have got a beer named Western Approaches, and I thought, let me check this out. I wonder what this is. Do you know what it is? I see the words IPL, and I thought, IPL. First thing I think of when I hear IPL, I think of the Indian Premier League, which is the cricket. So, you know, over here you have football, the Premier League. In India, cricket is massive. It's the national sport. They have the Indian Premier League. Very lucrative, very, very popular. You wouldn't believe the viewing figures that sport gets. Anyway, it's an IPL. What is an IPL? It's an India Pale Lager. Now, I won't tell you the choice of swear words I used when I read that, but I just wonder why. Now, what they've done is they've said they've brewed a lager. It's basically a bottom fermented ale with American hops, and they've called it an India Pale Lager. And IPA has just lost its meaning completely, as far as I know. There is no real definition of it anymore. Yet the British or the English were the first to brew it. They coined the phrase. I'm not going to go over the history. If you want to know the history of English IPA, look it up on the channel. There's a complete history of it. But it's just, IPA now is whatever you want it to be. You could have an India Pale Porter. If you're going to do an India Pale Lager, why not do an India Pale Porter? And just say, oh yeah, it's a porter brewed with American hops. And this is where, you know, all of a sudden IPAs or IPA is an American style beer. Not originally. And I know I always make this comparison when I see Italian chefs looking at YouTube videos, you know, these reaction videos. I'm not really into them, to be honest, but you see Italian chefs looking at other people trying to cook Italian food, and they get really wound up about it because they're passionate about the tradition and the way food should be cooked. And yeah, all right, I'm not a brewer, but I'm a consumer, and I love tradition. It's what makes breweries and beer unique. It's tradition. And it just seems now that somebody's come along and just muddied the whole water. Yeah, you can argue they've got that punk rock spirit. I'm not going to name that brewery, named after a dog and a way of making beer, but it's one of them things that annoys me. I suppose this is what people were like when punk rock came along. You know, music's supposed to be done a certain way and blah blah blah. So maybe I am stuck in the past, but I just think that, you know, the whole, what's the point in having any style of beer if you're going to do that? You know, India Pale Lager. Fucking heard it all now. Anyway, stop ranting. Let's investigate this beer. This is Jantarová. Fucking hell. Jantarová 13. Is that what it is? Yeah. Jantarová 13. That's what it's got written there. Doesn't have it on the front. But, yeah. That's what it is. It's 4.9%. It's a 500ml bottle. It has got water, yeast, malted barley, hops. And the hops are Sarts and Premiant. I'll get onto them in a sec. It is unfiltered. It is unpasteurised. There is no IBU. It's saying that it's canned on the 11th of the 4th, 21. No, best before 11th of the 4th, 21. It's coming up very soon. It's February now. This was canned on the 12th of the 11th. Wow, this doesn't have a long short life. This is saying best before 11th of the 4th, 2021. Fuck me. That is, what, 6 months? Yeah, it's a 6 month shelf life. Wow. Okay, fair enough. And that's it really. The hops, Premiant hops. They are a hop that is well known for its bitterness, so they probably use that for the bittering. They're also quite fruity depending on temperature, and they have lavender and lemon style flavours. Interesting. And then of course you've got Sarts. Noble hop, earth and spice. That's what that's all about. Right, let's get it open. Let's see what's going on. Now this is a Czech amber lager. Now if you look at Czech Pilsner, it is very amber. And you do tend to get a little touch of caramel malt, because they do throw a little amount of roasted malt into Czech Pilsners, which give it its unique flavour, even though it's bottom fermented. That's really shocked me on that shelf life. Now this is unfiltered and unpasteurised. And wow, it's really strong Sarts hops flavour coming from that. And they did that number 11, the Czech Pilsner. This to me smells more like a Czech Pilsner than that number 11 did. That number 11 had a weird style flavour, and if I'm not mistaken, it had the same hops as well, which is interesting. Right, it's not filtered and it's not pasteurised, as I just said, so it's cloudy. That could be a wheat beer, judging by the colour. Sometimes you get dark amber coloured wheat beers. Look at the head on that. Maybe that's the wrong glass. I should have put it into a Pilsner glass, maybe. Oh well, who cares now anyway. It's there. It is where it is. Fucking 4-finger white head, orangey amber colour, as the name suggests. Lots of carbonation, murky, cloudy, big hoppy notes coming from this. Very grassy and herbal. I'd say there's more Sarts in this than anything else. Earth, herbal and spicy notes. A little touch of caramel malt, but this really does let the hop character shine through on that. Let's get it down the hatch. Bottoms up. Oh, now that is nice. Oh, the bitterness on the arse end. Fucking hell. Oh, they really have overloaded. Well, I wouldn't say they have overloaded it, but they've loaded it up with Sarts hops. That really does make a difference. God, bitter. Fucking hell. Now, if you think a North German Pilsner's bitter, you should try some of this, because this is bitter. Put it this way, I would imagine this is what a Spurs supporter's tears would have tasted like when we beat them 2-1 the other week. It really is that bitter. And I'm pretty sure this is all coming from the Sarts hops. Them other hops, them Premium hops, are a bitter in hop. I assume that's what they're renowned for. So the combination of the two is making this very bitter indeed, to the point where it's not as bitter. You know, when you talk about West Coast IPAs, it's not that style of bitterness. It's not the grapefruit bitterness. This is pure earth and spice hop bitterness. God, it really is bitter. That's where the hops have been boiled to within an inch of their life, and the alpha acid that has come out has just given that a huge bitterness. It does remind me of a Czech Pilsner. Colour wise, there was a little touch of caramel malt initially, which is relatively sweet, but then that is just fucking drowned out by that bitterness. This could have been great, but I think they've gone overboard on the hop bitterness. And this seems to be a characteristic of craft brewers. it seems to be that, yeah, let's just throw the hops in without much thought for the end result. Now, I'll give you a prime example of this. There is a channel called Craft Beer Channel, and they brewed their own, I think it was a stout, and it was based on the Tunnocks tea cakes, you know, chocolate tea cakes, and that was the flavour they were going for, and they threw a load of hops in, and it ended up really bitter. And I remember watching their faces as they reviewed it, and they went, "Oh, this is really bitter. You know, this is supposed to be chocolate flavoured. We put too much hops in," and yeah, the bitterness on there made it taste nothing like a Tunnocks tea cake, and it just fucking stands to reason, doesn't it? Hops can equal bitterness if not done properly, and that was an example, and I think this is as well. If they were going for that, I know Pilsners are bitter, certainly in Germany, but good Czech Pilsners aren't this bitter. Having said that, if you can handle the bitterness, I'm sure this will go down really well. But I can sort of see what they were trying to do, and I think they've just gone over the top with the hops, which is a shame, because that had the potential to be a really good one. And if you've tasted really good Czech Pilsners, then you'll know that different style of lager compared to German Helleses and German Pilsners, if done right, can be absolutely amazing. I think they've just gone over the top with the hops. If they'd have backed off a little bit, this would have been great. But it isn't the worst beer in the world, that I will say. It's just that arse end on it is just a little bit too bitter. Oh well, not a bad effort. Sounds like I'm knocking it, but I can see. I don't mind it, to be honest. It's not the worst. I've tasted Pilsners that are as bitter as this, and I'm talking about the North German stuff now, the Jever. I don't know if the Jever's as bitter as this, but it's on the way anyway. And there's other German Pilsners, some of the obscure German Pilsners that have a lot of that spice on the arse end. This is probably one of the bitterest in the guise of a Pilsner, and I'm going to call it a Pilsner because everything else about it is a Czech Pilsner. That colour, that is the sort of colour I would expect from a Czech Pilsner. A nice amber colour. That's what it is. What's the verdict on Vinohradský Pivovar 13? And it's got Jantarová 13. I don't know what that means, whether that means anything. Bitter. That is the one thing I will take away from this. Now, if you look, they have these diagrams. Do you understand these diagrams? It gives you an indication of flavour. The bitterness is not really that much emphasised on that, but that should be right over in the corner, in my opinion. The full body, yeah, they got that right. It is. Aroma's big. Carbonation, they got that right as well. Yeah, this had the potential to be a really good one. Unfortunately, I think, as I was saying, there's just too much hop content in this. It sort of calms down once you get used to that spiciness and the bitterness, but I've got a feeling that the initial mouth or couple of mouthfuls will put a lot of people off. Apparently this is really popular in Scandinavia, Sweden and countries like that, but for me this could have been great. This could have been a really good Czech Pilsner, but I think it's just gone a little bit over the top, in my opinion. Still good though. I could probably drink quite a few of them The bitterness would probably get to me after about 3 or 4 though. It does calm down once you've had a few mouthfuls of it, but it's still there. But it sort of balances itself out afterwards, as I say. But yeah, you may like it, you may not like it. I think the first few mouthfuls will be the decider. For that reason, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. It's expensive. I'll tell you how much exactly. It cost me. Hang on, which one is it? You see this the other day? My missus. That was a Valentine's card. Nice, isn't it? Nice to know you fucking wanted. Where am I? No, it's not that one. That's an old one. Is it this one? Or is it that one? Do you know what? I'm so disorganised at the moment. Is it that one? No, it was this one. Oh, here we go. Yeah, £3.50. That was. You know, if you want to pay £3.50 for a Czech Pilsner, I'm going to call it a Czech Pilsner. That's what it's reminding me of. It's a difficult one. If you can get a can of Budvar, I'd say skip this. Get the Budvar. Don't bother with the Staropramen. That's a pile of shit. The Pilsner Urquell. Check where that has been brewed. If it's brewed in the UK, I don't think they brew it in the UK. Pilsner Urquell. If they do, fucking avoid it. If you can get hold of it, and I don't know whether Sainsbury's still do it, but Sainsbury's do a Czech Pilsner that is actually brewed by Staropramen. Get that. That's lovely. But yeah, Czech Pilsner just really hasn't made its way over here, which is a real shame. The German stuff has. Czech stuff hasn't. This stuff, yeah, I'm just going to give it a 7 out of 10 and buy it if you want it. And remember, beer is working class champagne.